I 31 male need to get this off my chest. My life was complicated. For the last 3 years, I was with my ex. We weren't just dating. We ran a company together. Or rather, I ran the company. I was the 51% owner. I'm a developer, and I built our entire platform from scratch. I handled the tech, the architecture, and all the major clients. She was the 49% owner, and, well, she handled the company's Instagram and was the visionary. Her words, I was just the engine making it all work. I told myself it was a partnership. I was an idiot. We just closed a huge funding round. This was all my work, my contacts, my tech. I really thought we'd finally made it, that we were a team. That night, I took her to the same restaurant where we had our first date. I was nervous, but excited. I slid the ring across the table. I had a whole speech planned. She didn't even look at it. She just laughed. A short, sharp, "Oh, honey, really? Now?" I just sat there, frozen. She sighed, like I was a frustrating intern. "Look," she said, "I'm just not ready to settle." She went on about how she was on the verge of something huge, and that marriage was an antiquated ownership model. She said she needed a power partner, not just... Well, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. The ride home was dead silent. I dropped her off and didn't say a word. I woke up alone the next morning and grabbed my phone. She'd already posted a perfect, filtered picture of her at brunch, holding up a mimosa. The caption, "Know your worth, Queens. Don't settle for less." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just a post. This was a press release. All our mutual friends, our families, even our investors, they all saw it. She was publicly, openly, branding me as less. I stared at the button. I felt the humiliation. Then I felt something else. Total clarity. She was right. I shouldn't settle. I liked the post. Then I left a comment. Kings 2. She replied with a laughing emoji. She thought I was being petty. She thought I was wounded. She had absolutely no idea I was giving her my 2 weeks' notice. I screenshotted the post, my comment, and her reply. Then I called my lawyer. My lawyer is this total shark of a woman. She looked at our LLC agreement and sighed. "This is sloppy," she said, "but you're 51% managing member. Your IP is yours. You license it to the company. But she has signature authority on the main bank account. You're exposed." "I want out," I said. "Dissolve the partnership." "She'll fight it," my lawyer warned. "She'll claim your code as a company asset. It'll be a long, ugly divorce." She called me less in front of our investors. "I'm done. Start the paperwork." We drafted a formal dissolution offer, a standard buyout. I offered her a number that was, frankly, way too generous. I just wanted to be done. I offered her a ton of money for her 49%, way more than it was worth without me writing a single new line of code. We sent it via certified mail. She never replied to the letter. Instead, her father, a slick, old money type who always looked at me like I was something he'd scraped off his shoe, had his lawyer send me a letter. It was a masterpiece of entitlement. It accused me of emotional volatility and attempted fiduciary blackmail, which I'm pretty sure isn't even a real thing. The letter demanded that I apologize for using a personal relationship to leverage professional control and that I recommit to her vision. They thought I was bluffing. They thought the company was my baby and I'd come crawling back. They forgot I was the one who built it. I could build another one. So I stopped. I'm the 51% managing member. I have the right. I stopped pushing code updates. I stopped answering client emails. I forwarded the company's main phone line to a new voicemail. This LLC is currently in formal dissolution. All operational matters are paused. Please direct legal inquiries to our counsel. The visionary had no engine. The brand had no product. While their legal clock was ticking, I called my old college roommate. She is, bar none, the most brilliant operations manager I have ever met. We had an idea for a startup years ago, but my ex had pushed her out, calling her unimaginative and too corporate. I called her and said, "Hey, are you still interested in building something real?" She said, I thought you'd never ask. We didn't just work. We flew. We built a new company, a new platform. All new code, all mine. It was leaner, faster, and 100 times better. In 5 months, we had a beta. In 6, we landed a massive contract that was 3 times the entire valuation of my old company. Last weekend, on the balcony of our new, empty office space, I asked her to marry me. No restaurant, no speech. I just held out the ring. She didn't laugh. She cried, and she said yes. We posted the announcement yesterday. A simple photo. Her hand in mine, ring shining, the city skyline behind us. The caption, the new partnership. Thrilled to be building my life with my co-founder. My phone rang at 2:17 a.m. It was my ex. I hadn't heard her voice in half a year. My fiancé, I love the sound of that, was asleep next to me. I took the call and went to the living room. You're engaged. Her voice was a high-pitched squeak. I am. To her? That boring. Don't. I cut her off. What do you want? You have to stop this, she shrieked. The panic was just rolling off her. You have to call off your lawyer. You're ruining me. The bank, the clients, they're all calling. My father is, you're destroying us. There it was. The us. There is no us, I said. I gave you an offer. You ignored it. Your father threatened me. That was a test, she screamed. You were supposed to fight for me. You were supposed to prove I was worth more than that. You were supposed to beg. That's what a man does. You don't just leave and propose to some nothing. The sheer, staggering entitlement of it. I wasn't a partner. I was a supporting character in her movie. I was an obstacle she had to overcome to prove her own worth. My proposal wasn't a question. It was a cue for her to start Act 3. You're right, I said. I'm not a man who does that. I'm a king. I don't settle. I hung up. I really thought that was the end. Nope. The next day, the real war began. She finally realized I was gone. The dirty tricks started. My fiancé got an email from a burner account. It was from my ex. It was full of old photos of us. Screenshots of old, intimate texts, all twisted to paint a picture that I was a serial manipulator who was love-bombing her and that I was still obsessed. My fiancé, who has managed supply chains in active war zones, just read it, blocked the account, and forwarded the harassment claim to our lawyer. Then, the big one landed. A massive nuclear lawsuit, filed by my ex and her father. They claimed I had committed massive corporate fraud, stolen their intellectual property, the code I wrote before the LLC even existed, and engaged in intentional infliction of emotional distress. They were seeking an emergency injunction to freeze my new company's assets and operations. They weren't trying to win. They were trying to bleed me. They were trying to scare off my new partner and my new investors. They were trying to burn my new life to the ground because I didn't pass her tests. We all met in a sterile conference room for the injunction hearing. Me, my lawyer, my fiancé, who, as my new COO, was named in their suit. Across the table, my ex, her father, and their team of silver-haired lawyers. Their lawyer was a performer. He postured. He painted me as a jilted lover, a thief who stole the golden goose because his heart was broken. He sabotaged the company, your honor, and in days he lied, started a competing business using trade secrets. My lawyer, the shark, stood up. She didn't raise her voice. Your honor, she said, the plaintiff is correct about one thing. This case is about knowing your worth. My client, she nodded to me, was the 51% managing member. The trade secrets they refer to as IP he created prior to the LLC and licensed to it. A license he revoked, per the agreement, upon filing for dissolution. She pointed at my ex. The plaintiff was offered a generous buyout. She ignored it. She and her father, she pointed at him, then engaged in a campaign of defamation and harassment, which we are happy to detail. The judge looked bored. This seems like a partnership dispute, not an injunction. It is, your honor, their lawyer sputtered. He's draining the value. The only value, my lawyer cut in, was my client's ongoing labor, which he is not legally obligated to provide for free. But that's not why we're here. We're here because the plaintiffs are committing perjury and abusing the court. She slid a new folder to the judge. This is our countersuit for defamation, tortious interference, and harassment. But more importantly, this is a copy of the LLC's primary business loan, the one she pointed directly at the father, personally guaranteed. The father's face went from smug to gray. My ex looked totally lost. What, Dad? What does that mean? My lawyer smiled. It means, ma'am, that when you and your father refused a dissolution and buyout, my client, as managing member, followed the law. He froze all non-essential spending to protect the company's assets. This included, naturally, the loan payments. The judge was reading. His eyebrows went up. The bank, my lawyer continued, has called a note. The LLC is in default. They are seizing all assets. And since the LLC's assets, which is just some office furniture and your brand, don't cover the 7-figure loan, the bank is now exercising its rights against the personal guarantor, your father. My ex finally got it. Her head snapped to her dad. You told me you handle it. You did this, the father roared, pointing at me. I stood up. I finally spoke. No, you did. You thought I was your employee. You thought you could threaten me. You co-signed a loan on a company whose only asset just walked out the door. I turned to my ex. You told me to know my worth. I do. You're a queen. You shouldn't settle. But the bank? They will. We walked out. The injunction was denied. Their lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. Our countersuit was settled very quickly because the father needed to stop the bleeding. He had to liquidate 2 of his properties, including my ex's high-rise queen apartment, to satisfy the bank. The LLC's assets were auctioned off. My new company bought all their high-end server hardware for pennies on the dollar. I never saw her again. My fiancée, my wife now, and I just closed our Series B. We're building, and we're not settling.